Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Toaru Majutsu no Index Season 3 Episode 6, or Toaru Majutsu no Index 3 Episode 6. Either way, so I just watched this one because of course having it up the same day it comes out, I don't exactly have a ton of time with it. I'm still super conflicted over this because I feel like if I knew nothing at all of the light novels that I would think that this was pretty incredible. I'd still be able to tell it was pretty rushed, but it was incredible. It was a really amazing episode, but at the same time it was amazing, but you can totally tell that there was just so much context and emotion left out. We got, in half an episode, we got all the way to Hamazura and Mugino, and then in another half an episode we got all the way to Accelerator and Kakine and through it all. So it was just way too much in one episode. I absolutely loved it and thought it was an amazing episode, but it was way too much for one episode. Like seriously, this could have been spread out into like at least 4 episodes. Give us that development. Give us like what the characters are going through or thinking about or what their motivations are. This was just really rushed. And it did that thing. It did at least do that thing where an anime like skips the opening or ending, isn't it? And as much as I love openings and endings, it makes it feel like a movie and stuff. It's like, oh, this is a special episode. But even with that, it was just too much in one episode. They didn't have enough time to do as much as what they did. And it starts off with Kakine attacking Item. We knew that was coming directly next from the end of last episode. Hamazura disposes of a body. He's out disposing of a body at the time, at least. When he comes back after being called back, he finds Takitsubo and Kinoara Sai defeated by the girl in the dress and Kakine. So all of that's nice and all, but Kakine and the girl leave after saying that Mugino had fled. And this was actually probably, I don't want to say it was the best scene, but it was a really good scene, that entire thing that happened there. But after Mugino says, you know, I'm getting all my revenge on school, and again, without more context, it feels like Mugino's drive makes no sense, because it feels like she's just going to get her ass handed to her and she's sacrificing teammates without any return to her personally. So it doesn't make her seem like a selfish leader, it just makes her seem not the brightest person. So yeah, I feel like they rushed through a lot of things that they should have really taken some time to develop. But Hamazura takes Takitsubo to Yomikawa, and he's confronted there by Mugino, who has friend his body. She got killed off screen for the anime, and I don't believe it happened off panel, so to speak, for the light novel. Might have, but I didn't think it did. And then she goes and she chases down Hamazura and has a fight with him. One thing that I think was pretty good is when they were walking through the streets, sometimes it happens in anime where like all the random bystanders will just be walking around like doo-doo-doo, nothing's going on as somebody covered in blood is walking through the streets. And I liked that at least that wasn't happening here. The people were like legit staring at her and freaking out like, what the hell is going on? So that is one little small detail that they got right that a lot of anime does get wrong. But then when she's fighting him in the place, she fires off a bunch of beams, and I thought her specific weakness was that she only could use like 3 beams at once. And that's why she needed the splitter to launch a bunch of different attacks at the same time. Now that's Railgun S material, but at the same time, I don't know, it felt like, I don't know, it just felt weird. Another thing that felt weird is that in Railgun S, again, comparing it to that, she was just a complete monster, and her fight with Misako was amazing. And it's like, comparing that to here, it makes her seem just so much weaker here, or that she's trying so much less. And of course, Hamazura is a level 1, so she's going to be kind of underestimating him, but at the same time, she just didn't seem to have the same kind of destructive power here that she had then. So then Hamazura puts her eye out and ends up shooting her a bunch. And here's something I don't understand. He leaves and all that. I thought that she, and this hopefully isn't spoilers, but Yeah, and I looked it up just to make sure, but I thought she lost her arm here too. And this is when, like, the energy, when she gets back up and yells Hamazura and gets punched in the face, that's where, like, the energy tears her arm off and she has it coming out of the missing eye socket. But the thing is, when all that happened, we even saw that in the opening, I believe. The arm and eye socket stuff was in the opening with her and Hamazura. But we didn't get that here. In fact, she still had the arm and everything after he had knocked her out and was leaving. So, again, I am a bit confused about what they're doing with the adaptation here. Are they rushing things too much that they're leaving stuff like that out? Or is she just going to show up again without the arm? So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. But either way, we get to the commercial break, and then coming back, we learn from Kakine that the tweezers aren't enough for him to put him on Alistair's level. He also has to kill Accelerator because he's the number one. We have a cute Last Order and Uiharu scene. Uiharu gets confronted by Kakine, but covers for Last Order. And again, all this did feel a little bit rushed. I mean, there's not too much they could do with that specifically, but Kakine finding them and Accelerator getting there, that all feels like it should have been a lot more developed. All the setup for this fight feels like it should have been more developed. But then we just jumped straight into Accelerator versus Kakine. It was a really good fight, and Accelerator stopped from killing him by Yomikawa, who then gets stabbed by Kakine, leading into Accelerator going full-on angel mode and possibly killing Kakine. It's left a bit unclear. But he's finally stopped by Last Order, and again, that was emotional and good, but it feels like it should have been quite a bit more emotional and good. Like if the fight had been built up to, like say we take 2 episodes, or even 1 episode, to handle all of the item stuff. That could have been a good full episode. Use this whole episode for the item stuff, and then use an episode to build up for and set up for Accelerator and Kakine, and then use an episode that's just the fight between them and this scene at the end. That would have been really, really good. If the fight had been an episode-long fight, basically, and they got deep into what the characters were thinking and their emotions instead of really skimming over it, I feel like the emotional weight of this would have been a lot more, whereas it was awesome and I was totally hyped, but there wasn't really that emotional weight there. So then we have an after credit scene, but before I get to that, I will say something else that I didn't like much about this episode that I talked about last episode, even though, like I said, I loved it. With the last episode, one of the only negatives I pointed out was when Etzali was just saying exposition to himself out loud so that they didn't have to develop it in the actual story. He was just going to say it out loud. That happened a lot this episode, where characters would say things and I'm like, instead of that, feels like it should have been something that was developed over time or that was said through the story, but rather than doing any of that, you just had a character say it to the other character, and it felt kind of like cheesy and like, why would they say that? Who says that in actual dialogue? But we get to the, not really after credits, but during credit scene, where we learn about Underline, which is a net, basically, of nano devices spread throughout the city, collecting information on everything and feeding it back to Alistair. And Kakine needed the tweezers to be able to grab it from the air, the ether, essentially. And now Tsuchimikado has the tweezers, so who knows if they'll use them or not. But he learns about one last faction called Dragon. So, yeah, that's where we end off, and I am so torn. Like I said, it was an incredible episode, but at the same time, it was totally rushed and felt like they left so much out. So it was an amazing episode, and I'm really happy for what we got, but it's a bit bittersweet knowing that it could have been so much better. Instead of this being a really amazing episode, we could have got 3 or 4 episodes that were each individually better than this one. So, I don't know, I feel like they just crammed too much into one episode. I feel like they rushed it too much, but I also feel like I'm still giving it 9.75, the closest I can to a perfect score, out of 10. 9.75 groups out of 10, I don't know. So yeah, I am so torn on this, and I'm wondering what other people are thinking, because I know some other people have been complaining about the high speed of the adaptation, and some people have been on the other side saying, nah, it's great, it doesn't matter how quickly they're going. But I don't know. I was kind of in the, it doesn't really matter how quickly they're doing a good job before now, and I still think they're doing a good job, but I do think this one might have been straw breaking camel's back too quick for me. Like, they really shouldn't have thrown all that into one. And again, to compare things to Railgun, look at the first arc of Railgun, then look at the second arc of Railgun, and then look at the Sisters arc from Railgun S. All of those were so well paced out and so good and so emotional. And then you compare all these to this, and it's like, it's just a highlight, like, it's just a highlight reel of the fights, kind of, without any of the context that gives it emotional weight and makes it important to us. So yeah, I'm really, really torn on this one. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there too. Tell me what you thought of this episode and what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more. Dwight Images Gnome Index 3, so much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, then just ask and I'll give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.